Hello, welcome to today's video. I hope you're having a wonderful day today, and if you're not, I hope this video can bring you a little bit of comfort. So in today's video, I wanted to give y'all some of my debating tips for some of y'all who may be new or interested in debate. Some background of my debating career. I started in 7th grade where I did congressional debate and oratory, and then my freshman and sophomore year was a bit weird because of COVID. However, my junior year, I didn't just join a debate club. I joined a family. I joined Incubate Debate, which, if you don't know Incubate Debate, it is a nonprofit debate organization within the state of Florida. It is the only debate organization outside of the National Speech and Debate Association. I have so many thanks and so much gratitude to give to Incubate Debate. It has awarded me so many opportunities and blessings, and I've learned so much in just the past, not even a year. It hasn't even been a year yet since I've joined Incubate Debate, and I just wanted to pay forward what I've learned. So quickly, before I start this video, I don't plan on going into specifics on how debate events are ran. I want to make separate videos going into details on specific debate events, on what materials to bring, and what proper attire to wear. In this video, I just want to give some general tips and then give more specific tips for congressional debate. So my first general tip would be to write your speeches using bullet points. A lot of debate events require you to memorize your speeches, and writing speeches word for word and making sure your sentences are perfect wastes too much time, and they're really difficult to memorize. However, other events like Congress, you can use a notepad, and having bullet points is so much easier to memorize. It's so much easier to look at it and then look at your audience and maintain eye contact with them, which is really important in a debate round. And it just helps you keep flowing and not lose your spot whenever you're giving a speech. My second tip is to not be afraid to use the floor. However, whenever you're using the floor, do not pace around and do not turn your back to your audience. I've seen this happen a few times. It is not a good look. My best tip and what I like to do whenever I'm giving my speeches is to walk to a certain point on the floor during a transition from one point to another and stop in my place whenever I'm making that point and whenever I'm giving my evidence. And again, transition in between my next point and stop whenever I'm actually making that point. This makes more sense to the audience, and it just seems more composed. And in this video, I don't want to go into specific directional movements because there's lots of different styles of how you should move across the floor. I can make a whole separate video for that. My third tip would be to slow down. Don't rush your speech. Whenever you're nervous, it's easy for you to speed up and start talking faster. However, that just makes you rush your points. That makes you more nervous. And then if you do have questions, you tend to get flustered. Those are things that I've experienced. And so the best thing I can say is whenever you're about to go up and give your speech, what I like to do is give my introduction, and I like to take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Sometimes it's really over exaggerated. I make it known, the judges, audience can see me, but this helps just recenter myself, and I think it could really help ground some people. This moves me to my fourth tip, which is to get to know the people you're competing with. This helps relieve so much stress whenever you're looking out into the audience and you're not seeing competitors, but you're seeing friends, people that you've talked with and joked with. Even if you don't plan on seeing them ever again after this tournament, if you can talk to them before the round or in between rounds, this is so important. I was always taught debate is a gentleman's sport, and this is where it comes in. You shouldn't be looking at the people you're debating against as competitors, because debate shouldn't be about you competing against your neighbor. It should be about you competing against yourself, your former self. Debate with every tournament you go to, your main goal should be not to win, not to do better than someone else, but to grow, to learn something, and to grow your researching skills, your debating skills, your communication skills, your public speaking skills. You have so many skills that you can be working on and can grow and take away from just one tournament than you ever will whenever you're competing with the people around you. Now I want to move on to my congressional tips. I am an expert at Congress compared to other events. If you don't know, Congress is basically where you act as a U.S. representative or senator and you debate whether or not you should pass a bill or resolution, which are basically laws, where you give a 3-minute speech for or against it, and then you can have 1 to 2 minute questioning periods where every person that questions you has about 30 seconds. My first tip is with research. It's very overlooked, but everything goes back to research. Do not research for or against a bill. You just need to research unbiased. Research both sides, because if you go into research and you have one side picked out and you're like, that's the side I'm going to debate on, you're cherry picking. You're going to have a very biased speech. You're not going to broaden your views at all. Because trust me, whenever you research a topic on what it really is and what it really means and the intention behind it, you learn so much more than what you'll initially realize whenever you're first looking at it surface level. It's really important to research both sides too, because then when people are giving their speeches, you know how to refute them, which means you know how to rebut them and a point they made, or add on more to a point that they've made. So now let's move on to speech writing. Whenever you're writing your speech, you want about 15-second intro and about 15-second conclusion, and you want to have 2 claims. Your claims are your reasons for why you support or are against a bill. After your claim, you want to have your warrants. Your warrant is your evidence. And during evidence, it's really easy for people to go statistic crazy and just start pulling percentages and numbers out of any article they've read. However, that can really lower someone's argument too, because not all studies are perfect. Some studies are flawed, some of them have too many variables, and they're not easily comparable to other places. Because you have to remember, you are acting as a U.S. congressman, so you have to make sure the statistic you're using can be applied to the whole country and not just a specific part or a specific group of people. After your warrant, you want to talk about your impact. Why does your point matter? Why does anyone care about what you're saying? This is really going to drive home your point. You want to talk about how it's going to affect America, how it's going to affect the American citizens. That's what's going to have you win. And a lot of people skip over impact, but it's really that emotion that you bring into your speech that can sway people one way or another. And moving on to my next point, it's really important to leave room in your speech to refute people, to poke holes in other people's arguments by saying Representative Blank said this, however, and bring up your claim, bring up your warrant, say why they're wrong, or add on to someone's point. Representative Blank brought up a great point, and add on to it. Doing this really stands out to judges. Judges notice whenever you're refuting people. If you do it well, they really like it, and it really shows your adaptability. It shows how much you're paying attention, you can work on the spot, and it can really put you in positive light. Now, moving on, Congress has a questioning period. And whenever you're asking questions, make sure you have multiple questions lined up, because you have 30 seconds, which isn't a long time, but you can get a lot said and done in 30 seconds. You want to try your best to have the speaker contradict themselves. You want to poke holes in their arguments, or if they're on your side, have them answer a bunch of affirmative statements. Representative, do you agree with this? Isn't it true that this, And if you can ask some questions where they say yes to it, it provides so much relief for the speaker, because whenever you have one person questioning you and they're on your side versus 2 people who are against you, trust me, it relieves a lot of stress. And it just helps reinforce points that you both have already made. And also, whenever you're asking questions, don't ramble too much with a preface. Just get straight to the point with your questions And make sure you're actually asking questions, because I've been around where students instead use this time to refute and say, well, didn't you know this, and like don't really ask a question. They kind of just give a statement. And in that moment, if someone's just giving me a statement, I respectfully cut them off and say, Representative, what is your question? Because you have 30 seconds and you want to get answers and that can help support your side. Now that perfectly leads me into when you're being asked a question. This is when you don't want to rush, because oftentimes questioners tend to ramble. They will have multiple questions lined up. So whenever they start getting heated and start going back and forth, you want to try to remain as calm as you can, because that speaks volumes when your questioner is getting mad and flustered and you're just standing there saying, Representative, what are you asking me? And if someone asks you a question and you don't know the answer to, or you don't get what they're asking you, you can say, Representative, can you please elaborate on your question? This gives you enough time to think of an answer, and it forces them to say their question in terms that are easier to understand. And whenever you're being questioned, make sure they stay on topic, because it's easy for people to bring up things that are more correlated and aren't really directly linked to what y'all are debating. So say, Representative, that is a very great point that you're bringing up, but that is not the topic of this bill. And bring the debate back. Stay focused, because oftentimes that happens a lot in questioning. And then also, there's always that moment where someone's gonna ask you a question and you have no clue what to say at all. You don't have an answer or anything. And this is why it's so important to pay attention during round. Because if someone asks you a question and you have no clue what the answer is, and they haven't given a speech yet, this is what you say. Representative, thank you so much for that question. I would love to hear your response when you come up here and give your speech. It automatically shuts them down. They can't say anything to that. I have used it once in a practice round, haven't used it during an official round, but it isn't a tip that I was given from a seasoned debater, so I'm giving this tip out. It automatically cuts down the questioner. Like, what can they say to that? Now, if you're being questioned by someone who has already given a speech, this is when you kind of have to work on the spot. If they give you information that you didn't know, or they ask you a question, you say, thank you so much for that question, Representative, but da-da-da-da-da. And you just kind of want to drive home a point, like reinforce an idea that, like, why your idea matters more. A lot of this is learned on the spot, and if I have videos of me when I'm debating, I'll try to have a compilation of that, because it's so important to just be able to work on the spot. And sometimes even when you're being questioned, you don't have a direct answer to it, to kind of just circle it back around to your speech. If they ask you a question and you don't know the answer, you're like, thank you so much for that question, but this is more important because da-da-da-da-da. Even if it's not directly correlated, sometimes you just gotta force home your point and keep the questions going. Remember, it's only 30 seconds. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope these tips helped. I want to make a lot more debating videos, a lot of tips. If I can find videos of me actually debating, I can go more in depth on how specific events are ran and how they work. But these are very general tips, and then a few more tips I know are specific to Congress. And I really hope that these helped you, and if they did, or you have any more tips of your own, let me know in the comments down below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a wonderful day today. Wow. My dry air is acting up again. I only had a minute left. Balls. Share it to Governor Christie, please. I was recording that whole time. I'm a content creator. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.